Welcome to Papa Junk Shop. Well, it's been, I don't know, probably at least 5 days that I haven't been out here to work on anything. Had a little local engine fall festival thing I went to for an afternoon, and had some other things going on, and wifey had some things going on, and so I haven't been out here for a while, but I was able to get some parts cleaned in between. Got the block cleaned up pretty good. I decided to leave the cam and the injection pump in there. I didn't think I'd be gaining anything by taking them out, so, and got the crankshaft all cleaned up, the bearings all cleaned. The piston, I tried, I scrubbed on it with some gas and a brush, and then I tried that WD-40 cleaner stuff that my son gave me to try out, that he said worked really well, and that didn't do anything except polish the dirt, I don't think. And what I wound up doing is I put that in my ultrasonic cleaner with that awesome in there in about 20 minutes, and it even cleaned the back of the piston rings and stuff. So I'm really impressed with that ultrasonic cleaner. And I got the governor all cleaned up, and got the spring straightened out, got that special nut and the cotter key back in. What else? Oh, I got the backing plate and that timing cover and one of the airflow tins cleaned up. Started on the valve cover. Needed to do a little work on this breather. Got to figure out something for the compression release. Pull the valves and everything out, and they checked out nice. Guides feel nice and tight. Valves look good. So I just cleaned up the carbon and stuff and put them back in, and found a snap ring for the one that was missing on the end of this. So that's coming along good. And this is the head gasket. It come off when I was cleaning. I still got more stuff to clean. Oh, the base, I cut that other piece off of here, and that was purple underneath all that dirt, and I thought, nah, purple just didn't seem to go with this thing, so I squirted some black on it. But I decided that I'm going to try to reline these bearing inserts. That's what they look like now. They're rough, but they're not, if that makes sense. It almost looks like dirty oil and stuff that was in there just got pounded in the babbitt, and of course it's worn. It was pounded out. You could see where it was squishing out the sides a little bit. But I come up with this jig, which I'm in the process of making. I turned an aluminum slug that's a little bit smaller than the crank throw, and I'll have these bearings in there, and I'll get it centered, and I'll drill it. I'll hold it in place with a bolt. I'll hold this in place on this piece of 3/8 plate that's really nice and smooth and flat, and I've got a bolt that's going down through the wrist pin, and these clamps will hold it in place. I'll go ahead and get this preheated. I think around 400 and some degrees they suggest, and I'll melt some babbitt and pour in between, and I'll have about an 1/8 inch of babbitt to work with. Won't need near that much, you know, when I get it bored out, but I'll have that much. I don't think I can go too much thinner and do a pour that would work well. And I found some babbitt in my collection, and On the back side of it, stamped in it, it says, I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, high speed, heavy duty. So I'm thinking this is what they call high speed Babbitt. So that's what I'm going to use. So I got some work to do on that, and I'll probably show you some of that along the way. But that's where I'm at this point. Okay, I think I got my final setup for trying to reline these insert bearings. I'll try to explain to you what my thoughts are. Don't know if it's going to work. Going to give it a try. I got it all back on the jig. I got some real thin aluminum shims in here to separate the two bearing pieces, and they go up against this aluminum slug. And the surfaces that I do not want the Babbitt to stick to, I painted with high temperature paint. One time I went to Hit and Miss Enterprises to one of their engine things. This had to have been a long time ago. Travis went with me when he was still in high school, so Aaron's what, 16, so it had to have been more than that many years ago. Anyways, I watched them pour Babbitt out there, and to keep the Babbitt from sticking to things, they used acetylene. Would fire up a torch, and that black soot that come off the acetylene, they would coat the stuff, but I don't have that option, so I thought about this high temperature paint, so we're going to see if it's going to work. Hopefully, it says it's high enough temperature that it shouldn't boil off and contaminate the Babbitt. So I painted all the edges here, and I painted the edges of the bearing, and I sanded the surface of the bearing. There's still Babbitt on there, so it should be tin, so the Babbitt should meld in with the other Babbitt. And I'm going to put this on a hot plate and warm it up, and I'm thinking when I was out there to Hit and Miss that they were up in like between 400 and 500 degrees. So hopefully I remembered correctly. I'm going to heat it up to that, and then over here in my little Johnson furnace, I got a hunk of that high-speed Babbitt ready to start melting. So shouldn't take very much. I'll just pour in this side, and then I'll pour in this side, and then let her cool and see what we got. Alright, we got her all warmed up, got the stuff all melted. We're going to dump her in there and see what happens. One side looks like it went good. Alright, we'll know in a few hours. See you in a bit. Okay, it's been a couple hours. Had a couple of errands to do, and got a friend here running the Bridgeport for a project he's working on, so let's take a look and see what we got. Well, that part come off. There we go. There's one half.
Looks good.
And that aluminum worked out alright. There's the other half. Now I'll get these trimmed off of there. Hopefully that paint will make that easy. And we'll get it set back up in this jig again, get it in the mill, and bore it out to the correct size. Now, just in case you were curious what that other project was, a friend of mine bought a Harbor Freight planer, and it was so sloppy that it just was ridiculous. So he's reboring the framework and going to put some bushings in it. So that's what we're working on right now. Yeah, I got the rod mounted back on the jig. Got it all lined up in the mill. Left the bearings out. Got this all set up so it was centered. And then pulled the cap back off, put the bearings in. And I run a couple of passes down through just to make sure everything was going to work all right. And I got a really nice finish on there. And I got my measurement on my crank here. Got an internal mic. So I'm going to go ahead and get that bored out. I did some research on bearing clearance. And kind of a standard is 1/1000th of an inch clearance for every inch of journal. Well, this is about 1.5 inches. So I'd need 1.5. And for an engine like this, that's probably not going to work very hard ever, if at all. I think I'm going to go for like 2/1000ths. And another reason is that this will have 1540 oil in it. And being that this is kind of a foreign-made engine, I guess is a nice way to put it, that alignments and stuff might not be quite as good as the more expensive engines are. So that'll give us a little leeway too for some binding, I guess you might say. So that's what I'm going to go for, 2/1000ths. Okay, I'm going to take about, well, on the dial here I'm going to go 10/1000ths. And then when I get close, of course it'll be a lot less than that. We got the mill on power feed, about the finest I could get. Got it set up so it'll shut off when it gets to the bottom. And then I'll just reverse it and bring it back out the same speed. That way you keep nice consistent cuts. And then I'll vacuum the chips out in between each pass. On her way back up. I got this micrometer set for the size of the journal, so when I get it to that point, then I'll make one very fine cut for my oil clearance. Okay, she's back up. So now I can take my inside mic. And we still got a ways to go, so I'll be making a bunch of those passes until I get her to the correct size. But you get the idea. Okay, as you can see, we run into a problem. I was getting down to the nitty-gritty, and it pulled loose from the original. So apparently my new Babbitt didn't adhere to the old Babbitt the way it should have, and so I'm going to have to redo it. Try to figure out if I need a little more heat here to get this to stick better, or if I got to get some flux or something. Anyways, yeah, I can probably, yeah, that whole thing is gonna, probably my arm's in the way, but there's a piece of it. There's a little thin piece of it. So it didn't stick to the original. Looks like it's gonna work all right if I can get it to stick, so I guess that's how you learn. So back to the drawing board. See you in a bit. Okay, I tried to tin that Babbitt that was on the original bearing, if that's even what it was, not sure, and I couldn't get anything to stick to it, so I completely took it all off. That's down to the bare steel. So I'm going to get this, well, both halves of it, tinned and try again. Okay, put some flux on that baby, and she tinned right up just as nice as can be. Of course, it was, you know, just machined, so there wasn't any tarnish on it at all. So hopefully we'll get a good adhesion this time. I still got to do the other one, but just thought I'd show you that. Alright, I'm going to tin the other half. Thought maybe I'd show you how I did it. When she warms up, she goes nice. No, that's not part of the plan. Makes you wonder how something can go that far away. Anyways, you get the gist of it. Not much to it. Goes nice. Okay, here's the results from the second attempt. Everything stayed together this time. Got a really nice finish on there. So we'll see if she'll fit. Okay, I got some oil thrown on them. We'll see how things go here. Well, there's finger tight. Doesn't feel too bad. There's a little bit of a spot. Must be where the crank isn't quite round, but of course that's just finger tight. Let's see what happens if I snug them just a little. This still moves, a little stiffer though. I'm not sure, that might be a little too tight. You might have to line her back up and take another thousandths out. I'm going to think on it a bit. Okay, I figured out why she was a little snug. I didn't deburr the sides of these at all after boring them, and this crankshaft has a pretty good little round to it right there. So once I ease those edges a little bit, she works out nice. And you say, that turned out really nice. I sort of have a good feeling about this one. Maybe it's actually gonna get this cap in the right direction. We'll put her back on. Now, what the heck we're doing my nuts? Huh. Well, they must be with my wrench where I took it apart. And they are. There we go. So I think I'm going to be happy with that. So it wasn't the third time's the charm, it was the second time. See you in a bit. Okay, making some more progress. I got the head back together, and I got my compression release figured out, I guess. There's like a cam thing in there, so I took a bolt that just fit nice in that hole and carved the head out so it fit in the cam spot. Got a spring and a washer and a pin through there to work as a handle. And I don't know if you can see it, but the valve's lifted up a little bit there. And if I put it back, it drops back. And I got the breather straightened up and new gasket made and in place. And got the rest of the parts cleaned up with the exception of this tray full of bolts. And what else have I accomplished? Oh, I honed the cylinder. And so I think, oh, gas tank. That was really, paint was all falling off it. And the insides was nice. I didn't do anything to that except rinse it out. There's a filter on the inside. I took that out. It's not terrible. So I just kind of flushed it out and put it back in place and threw a little bit of paint on her. So that's all set to go. So I think just about ready. Oh yes, another thing, that injector. I went through all my stuff again looking for a connection that would fit that injector that I got. And I probably spent an hour going through fittings and trying to find something to fit it and figure out, of course it's metric too. And I couldn't come up with anything, and I thought, well, I got a place where I've got a few injectors thrown. I already went through them once, and I went back there to see if I could find any kind of a fitting on any of them or anything that I could adapt. And I got looking at this one injector I had, and it fits right in there, and the line fits on it. So I don't know why I didn't see that the first time, but it fits right in there, and everything lines up. So I didn't take it apart or check it out or anything, but it looks good. It's even got the gasket on it. I mean, it looks like somebody's done something with it, so it wasn't me. It's the way I got it. So hopefully it was a spare that somebody had ready to go, rebuilt. So we'll find out shortly. So at this point I think I'm going to call this a video, because before I start reassembling that, I got one heck of a mess in here. So, you know, I got the milling machine messed up, and everything around here is all dirty from this project, and falling over stuff and everything else. So I'm going to take some time out to do some cleanup, and then we'll reassemble this thing. And I gotta winterize my camper yet too. So if you enjoyed this one, give me a thumbs up, and please subscribe. See you next time.